Once upon a time, in a small fishing village, there lived a young boy named Tui Sin. He spent most of his days on a boat, accompanying his father, who was a skilled fisherman. One sunny day, as they sailed across the sparkling blue sea, a strange sound caught Tui Sin's attention. It was as if someone had whispered his name on the gentle breeze. Startled, Tui Sin turned to his father, who was focused on his fishing nets. "Did you hear that, father?" he asked, his voice trembling with curiosity. His father glanced up, his weathered face reflecting concern. "What is it, my son?" he inquired, sensing his son's unease. With a tremor in his voice, Tui Sin shared a chilling tale he had heard from the village elders, a terrifying myth about a monstrous creature lurking beneath the waves. His heart raced as he recounted the stories of boats being attacked and fishermen vanishing without a trace. His father sighed, patting Tui Sin's shoulder reassuringly. "Those are nothing more than old wives' tales, my boy," he said with a gentle smile. "There's no need to fear such vain stories. We have nothing to worry about." Feeling somewhat relieved by his father's words, Tui Sin gazed at the vast expanse of water surrounding them. But just as he began to relax, a ripple disturbed the calm surface, catching his attention once again. "Father, look!" he exclaimed, pointing towards the disturbance. Reacting swiftly, his father retrieved a sharp trident from the boat and plunged it into the water. With a sudden jerk, he pulled up a fish, its head gruesomely severed. Fear tightened its grip on Tui Sin's heart as he realized something ominous lurked beneath them. In the midst of their apprehension, a deafening sound echoed through the air, causing both father and son to startle. "Hold on tight, Tui Sin!" his father shouted over the cacophony, gripping the sides of the boat. They scanned the surroundings, searching for the source of the disturbance, their eyes wide with trepidation. Without warning, a colossal creature emerged from the depths of the ocean. Its massive form crashed against the boat, catapulting Tui Sin's father into the water. "Father!" he cried out desperately, tossing a rope towards him. Desperately clinging to the lifeline, his father struggled against the monstrous force. But it was futile. With a violent yank, the creature wrenched the rope from Tui Sin's hands, sending the boat spinning aimlessly. In a cruel twist of fate, both father and son were thrown into the churning waves. Through sheer determination, Tui Sin managed to climb back aboard the boat, but his father was lost to the abyss. Gasping for breath, Tui Sin watched in horror as his father's lifeless body floated to the surface, a tragic testament to the creature's ferocity. As if mocking his anguish, the beast revealed its scaly hand, emerging from the water with an air of malevolence. Shaken to his core, Tui Sin could never forget the haunting image etched into his memory. Years passed, and Tui Sin grew into a young man burdened by the weight of his traumatic past. One fateful day, he awoke from a vivid dream, reliving the harrowing events of his father's demise. By his side stood his best friend, who had come bearing food, a constant source of support amidst his grief and nightmares. Luke Sin, a young boy, approaches and mocks him before fleeing. A man by the name of Di Trong receives congratulations from the head of the village, Chief Dinyan, for his catch from the fishing. An elderly person named Hat comes to let him that the precursors had said no if they tracked down such a fish there, to not get it. Yet he doesn't tune in. Tam discusses the urgency of the village church renovation with the chief of the village. Makyata, meat seller, ignores the old man's advice to refrain from overworking himself and insults old Tam instead. Mac and Yat Dao tell his daughter Hong Lan to go tell her younger brother Luke Sin to stop running around nearby. Bite the dust. Trang, you contend, because of their warmth for Hong Lan. While drying her clothes, Hong Lan is startled by Tui Sin. He gives her a gift that she likes, but she immediately returns it because of her father. Tui Sin is warned by her father not to approach his daughter again, and he leaves. Tui Sin meets an elderly woman who encourages him not to be concerned about Hong Lan, but to contemplate marrying a different woman. However, he claims to be uninterested. Tui Sin's best friend immediately appears to greet him. A man announces that someone has died in the river and rushes into the market. After that, they all congregate around the headless body. Additionally, Tam brings up the tale of people being killed by water monsters 10 years ago. Tam is asked by the village chief what they can do. Tam adds that a princess named Huang Ho made a sacrifice 10 years ago to drive the monster away, and it must be repeated. They are instructed to sacrifice Tam because Makniat Dao does not believe Tam. If that is the case, Tui Sin flees the scene and locates Luke Sin attempting to catch a duck by the river. He tells Luke Sin to go home. However, Luke Sin ignores her. A beast gets the duck. Luke Sin is attempting to get Tui. Sin travels to warn Hung Land against doing laundry near the water because it is risky. He tries to persuade her to go with him out of the village, but her father comes back and he flees to hide. She is instructed to go find her brother Luke Sin when her father arrives to inquire about him. In the woods, Hung Land sets out to locate him. Luke Sin, on the other hand, chases a duck that gets dragged into the water. He enters the water and uses his hands to search for the duck, but all he finds is a far-off tail. In the following scene, he observes something in the water. Several people begin searching the forest for Luke Sin by evening. Sin notices that Luke Sin's body, which had surfaced in the water, is being observed by his best friend as he looks into the water. When Tam arrives at the scene, he begins to cry as the village leader is reminded of what he had said. The tribute was given by the villagers in the following scene. Tui Sin and his best friend are seated nearby to observe the water monster's offering. Mac and Yat Dao suddenly appear to scatter the offering, kick the water monster statue, and curse the demon monster. In an effort to placate the water monster, Tam prays and orders the men to drag Mac and Yat to safety. In the following scene, Tam explains to the village head how they can't allow Mac and Yat Dao to keep causing trouble. They suspected his Mac and Yat Dao as soon as they heard a sound. In the meantime, Mac and Yat Dao, who are setting off explosions on top of the water to bring out the water monster, are surrounded by the entire village. Mac, not Dao, is restrained after that. When Hung Land comes to feed her father, the village chief tells her to tell him to stop being a troublemaker. Tui Sin leaves after bringing him a drink to cheer him up. Tui Sin departs to return home and recalls a childhood memory of his father's activities. After that, Tui Sin tells Mac and Yat Dao to leave the water monster when he meets them. But because he didn't remember that it killed his father, he calls him a coward. The water monster enters the building when Mac and Yat Dao hear footsteps later that night. He is killed when the water monster climbs on top of him and whispers his name. When Hung Land arrives to deliver rice to her father in the following scene, she discovers that he has been decapitated and screams. After that, Tam tells the village chief that the sacrifice can no longer be postponed. The people are in agreement, but everyone is curious about who will be sacrificed. Tui Sin declines Tam's offer to sacrifice Hung Land, and no one else accepts it. Tui Sin declines Hung Land's invitation to be sacrificed. The men take Tui Sin away as he tries to persuade them not to sacrifice Hung Land. The sacrifice will take place in 3 days, and Tam instructs them to take her to the firewood room. Tui Sin and Hung Land are seen locked up close to one another in the following scene. Hung Land tells Tui Sin that she wants to marry a good man and is aware that he is kind to her. However, the water monster has changed everything. The guards arrive to take him away after he tries to take her away, but she refuses. She tells him to forget about her and leave. After that, Tui Sin is shown thinking back to his relationship with Hung Land, and he makes the decision to go on a hunt for the water monster. In order to defeat the water monster, he constructs numerous devices. Although Tui Sin tells his best friend that he needs to go find some of his brothers first, she's very excited to go with him. They then go to a house to meet 4 other men and their leader, Bon Bon, who leads them to a boat that they can use to catch the monster. In the following scene, the people congregate around the river to offer Hung Land as a sacrifice. A boat takes him into the river. When Tui Sin and the other men arrive at the scene, he informs them that he is there to save Hung Land. He explains to the people that the monster is not God or the devil. Rather, it is a cannibal monster that must be destroyed. He tells the people that he has long been a coward. However, he declares that he will no longer be a coward, and he invites the populace to join him in combating the monster. Di Trang and VV have arrived to accompany him. They're all seen together on the boat in the following scene, getting ready to catch the water monster. When Hung Land joins them, they are all seen laughing. The men begin to complain later in the day that they have waited all day and only found Bon. They're told to wait by Bon. They drag the chain up from the water and it begins to move, but they find nothing. One of the men attempts to search for the monster by jumping into the water, but he is dragged under the surface and killed. Tui Sin throws a trident at the water monster, but the monster ignores it and continues to kill the other man it has captured. It runs when Tui Sin keeps throwing his trident at it. The monster tries to take Hongland, but Tui Sin attacks it, and it falls onto the boat with all of them facing it. They all fire weapons at it, but it avoids them, igniting a fierce struggle. Tui Sin deceives the water monster and kicks it when it lunges at him. While it is confused, they try to catch it in a net, but it escapes at night. Tui Sin cautions Bon Bon and one other man against leaving because the water monster already knows their identities. Bon Bon's companion makes the decision to continue on regardless and flees. He runs away when he hears something terrifying, but the water monster catches him off guard and kills him. The water monster then goes to meet the other men, but there is a hay-made decoy man there. They immediately imprison the monster and fire a number of weapons at it, which it avoids. It tries to get away, but the men hurt it. It manages to evade all of the weapons fired at it before being caught by the men in an ambush, but it still manages to knock them off balance. The monster is tricked by Tui Sin, who fights it with an arrow and captures it in a cage he made. In the following scene, the town head and the residents are seen noticing the water beast that Tui Sin had brought to them. They weren't sure if this was the monster for some of them. However, they assure them that this is the monster, and Tui Sin promises that Twang Tui's village is safe. They all shout that the monster is burnt to death and praise him as their hero. Tam stops them from chanting and warns them that the monster will kill them all if they disrespect it. He warns Tui Sin against assuming he did the right thing because doing so will hurt everyone. A party for the heroes is ordered by the village chief. They are instructed by the head of the village to rest and that they will decide what to do with the monster the following morning. They start feasting together. After that, Tui Sin and Hongland meet for a private conversation. Dai Trang and VY2 are not far away. Hongland has already fallen in love with Tui Sin, which makes you cry. Tam is shown kneeling in front of the caged monster in the following scene. Sin's best friend Tui appears to mock the monster before departing. The village has become quiet as everyone has returned to their homes to sleep. In the meantime, Tui Sin and Hongland kiss at their house, while Tui Sin's best friend watches them and talks to them. From that point forward, Tui Sin's closest companion goes off content with everything that has occurred. The water monster has opened the cage, leaving it empty when Tam wakes up. He continues to die as the water monster advances. The town beast goes to go after individuals, yet gets gone after by Tui Sin's closest companion, who gets dispensed with by the beast. The mourners are depicted in the subsequent scene. In the morning, they are dead. Amidst the chaos, some began pointing fingers at Tui Sin, a young and agile villager known for his bravery and skill with a blade. They believed he somehow bore responsibility for the calamity that had befallen them. However, the village chief, a wise and respected figure, stepped forward to address the anxious crowd. His voice boomed with authority as he urged the people to set aside their blame and division. "Begging and sacrifice have proven futile," the village chief proclaimed, his voice laced with a mix of frustration and determination. "It is unity that shall be our greatest weapon against this vile creature. We must stand together and confront this monster head on." Inspired by the chief's words, Tui Sin knew that action was necessary. He made a solemn decision to prepare himself for the hunt. With a firm resolve, he took a blade to his long, flowing hair, symbolizing his commitment to face the monster and protect his village. The villagers, recognizing his dedication, rallied behind him, and together they set up camp on the outskirts of the village, readying themselves for the impending battle. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an ethereal glow across the river, Tui Sin found himself aboard a small raft, floating silently near the boat. The night was alive with anticipation, and the hushed whispers of the villagers mingled with the gentle rustle of leaves. With a deep breath, Tui Sin leaped into the dark, murky waters, his eyes scanning the depths for any sign of movement. Suddenly, a massive shape materialized beside him. It was the water monster, its monstrous form looming ominously. Acting with lightning reflexes, the creature thrust Tui Sin out of the water and onto his raft. The men on the boat reacted swiftly, pulling the raft back to safety, yet the relentless monster pursued them, clambering aboard the vessel. Panic and chaos ensued as the monster unleashed its fury upon the men. In the midst of the commotion, the beast lunged at Hongland, a kind-hearted villager, poised to deliver a devastating blow. But before tragedy could strike, Di Trang, a brave and selfless soul, threw herself in harm's way, shielding Hongland from certain doom. Meanwhile, Tui Sin engaged in a fierce battle with the water monster. With every blow, he weakened the creature, but its sheer strength proved daunting. Di Trang and Hongland managed to restrain the monster momentarily, allowing Tui Sin to strike it repeatedly with his blade. However, the creature fought back with a vengeance, flinging them aside. Injured but undeterred, the water monster rose to its feet, fixated on Hongland, who lay defenseless on the ground, not far from Tui Sin's reach. Acting on instinct, Tui Sin swiftly shot an arrow, piercing the monster's flesh. The creature's attention shifted, but not without inflicting injuries on Bon Bon and Di Trang, who valiantly attempted to intervene. Amidst the chaos and tragedy, only Hongland and Tui Sin remained alive, their determination unwavering. Seizing the opportunity, the monster lunged towards Hongland, its malicious intent evident. However, at the last possible moment, Tui Sin's blade found its mark, plunging deep into the creature's heart. The movie ends here. Subscribe for more movie recaps.